Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Cool. Hey, from the audience, I got my questions, but theirs are always more fun. Allie in Texarkana, she remembers you from Austin days. She says, I love when Luke is on the show. Do you have a fun Austin, Texas story from your time with the Texas Stars? Something real quick.
Well, I'm still the all-time penalty minute and fight leader with the Texas Stars. So I started my career there. 4 years, 19 to 22 age. Some of my fondest memories were made in Cedar Park, Texas.
It is a grand town. From BW in Edmonton says, pardon me, Luke, who was the toughest hockey fighter you faced and hardest body checker?
Oh, good questions. The fighter part, I've never felt, still to the day, anyone as strong as Brian McGrattan. And I fought him my first battle of Alberta in Calgary, center ice at the Saddle Dome. And when he grabbed onto my collar, I had never felt something like that in my life. He had this ability to move me around anywhere he wanted to go. And I remember just having an internal dialogue, just kind of hang in here, breathe, stay in there. But there was nobody like Big Earn, I'll tell you that much. Hitter.
Those are the best. Yeah.
But Dustin Byfuglien, anyone that has seen the YouTube clip of me get hit by Dustin Byfuglien, and I did a full 180, there was nobody like him in hockey, especially when he got moving. And when I tried to hit him multiple times, it was just like bouncing off a brick wall.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
This former producer of major market television shows writing into us anonymously to say he just found our show on Game Plus Television. Here's some tips. The show has ADD. It's all over the place. Your sound effects are annoying. And your host is arrogant. Right on all counts. But that's what we want. That's what we wanted it to be.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, I feel like that guy shouldn't probably write into the show today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. We got some breaking news I can't wait to get to here right away. I'm in the South Florida studio. Moose is in the Toronto studio. He's having an RP day because Moose, I actually had it written down as point 5 was going to be Moose's night. But before we get to the breaking news and a whole lot of fun football talk, why don't you tell the folks what you're doing today, man? I'm pretty impressed with what you got going on.
Yeah, I was just saying life is good. Just got the Guardian cap all fixed up here, if that's what we're calling my hair these days. And, we're going to head off to London for a little hockey broadcast today in London. I'm excited. They're calling it's the Go JHL. So they've invited me down there. It's a Go JHL spotlight game. So they do, a number of these dozen spotlight games throughout the year. And so they make a big deal of it. They're putting it on Rogers TV. They've asked me to come and call the game. And for those that, want a connection to the London team, Brandon Prust, former NHLer, making he just is a head coach for the first time with London, and this is his home debut tonight. So that's exciting to get to see him.
Good for you, man. And you got to drive to London, Ontario. That's not London, England, everybody. London, Ontario, right after the show. So drive safe, but we're going to have fun over the next 2 hours. 13-year NHL veteran Rich Sutter is going to be with us in hour 2. And Hoopster Andrew Gottselig in hour 2. I say Rich Sutter, hour 1. Andrew Gottselig, hour 2. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, Director Jordan?
How about that?
I fiddled with this. I was going to move it down in the order and stay with the quick 6 show topics, but I'm like, no, I can't. It's Canada, hockey number 1, and it's the Leafs. So training camps are opening today across the country. Media days are happening across the land. And in Toronto, Maple Leaf star Mitch Marner says he's only focused on the upcoming season and not his future. He shut down reporters this morning before they could even ask him But I'm reading from a Wire story here. The winger's status, however, casts a long shadow as the club convened for training camp today. Marner opened his media availability with a statement to reporters saying he wouldn't be taking questions about his contract. The forward from nearby Markham is entering the final year of his big money deal signed in 2019. And so I don't mind. I hate talking about the contracts. I hate talking about the money. And there's a lot of people in the game that feel the same way as me, but I also understand so many millions do love talking about it. So how do you feel on the very first day of training camp that Marner's like, I'm not talking about it? You're the Leafs fan on the screen right here. So how do you feel about that?
I'm a little torn. I'll tell you, my first instinct was, ooh, this is not great because, they're going to wonder, and you don't want to appear confrontational and start the season confrontational, before we even get started, So I don't love that. I would have rather went the McDavid route. And what Connor McDavid did is he took the questions on the contract leading into the final year. And then he said, appreciate it, or whatever he said, and that's the last time we're going to talk about it throughout the year. But he took the questions one day to open it up. But maybe his PR team said, look, at least he came out and set the expectation right away to say, hey guys, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to talk about the season. So that way he's not being confrontational with every question that comes up and saying, sorry, I'm not talking about it. No, I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. At least he set the expectation. I would have rather him take the bullet once like McDavid did.
Yeah, well, we're not even one full day into training camp, and the drama of Leafsville has hit. But it's not like they're the only ones. We had Adrian Rainey on here yesterday talking about what the Dolphins are going through with Tua and how the fans are going crazy there. Don't get me going with the Dallas Cowboys. And this could mean a million different things. To be honest, I'm happy that Marner said I'm not talking about it, because last year at this time, if you remember, Steven Stamkos started the conjecture and the tongue wagging, if you will, in Tampa, saying, well, I want to talk about my contract, but the team doesn't want to. We saw how that ended. So here we go. They're not even on the ice yet, and the drama has started around the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's the story. Marner shut it down, won't talk about it. Now, moving on to what I think is a more fun thing. I just searched NFL in the Associated Press wire, and this is what came up. The worst start to an NFL season for passing offenses in years. That's what it is this year. The worst passing stats ever in NFL history hasn't hit the New Orleans Saints. While quarterbacks and offenses around the league have struggled to get going, Derek Carr and the Saints are clicking with an early efficiency that might not have ever been reached before in the NFL. The Saints followed up a 47-point outburst in the season opener against Carolina by walloping the Dallas Cowboys 44-19 on Sunday, becoming the fifth team to score at least 44 points in each of their first two games of a season. Yeah, it's an anomaly, I think. It's certainly newsworthy, one of 8 million things to talk about in the National Football League here right now. But they say, as you know, the defenses are supposed to be ahead of the offenses this time of year. League-wide, they're saying it's an historically low passing year. We're only 2 weeks into the NFL season. I have the power rankings in front of me, Darren, and here's another thing. I don't like contract talk, and I think power rankings are a bunch of horse pucky. However, I know everybody gets all excited about it. So who do you think is the number one team in the power rankings? And this, by the way, is from yahoo.com. I've signed up for their newsletter just because I do like all the opinions. I like to hear what people are saying. It's a typical U.S. sports newsletter in that it's all football right now, NFL and college, some baseball, which we're getting to, and no hockey. So we're going to come back to hockey in a minute. But who do you think from yahoo.com is the number one team in the NFL right now?
I think it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Does it not?
Okay. Who's number two?
Oh, boy. I would say Buffalo is probably number two.
Yep. You might not guess number three.
Who is third? I honestly am racking my brain to try and figure out who third is. San Francisco.
No, they're fourth, but actually the Houston Texans are third. And to be honest, I welcome any and all kinds of commentary from our viewers today, the listeners on WQE in Atlanta, the viewers on Game Plus TV, or obviously the YouTube feed, because all of this is why I don't really like it, because power rankings, number one, I don't think people understand. This is not who we think is going to win the Super Bowl today, because the Super Bowl is not being played today. It's week 3. It's who are the best teams right now. Darren, you and I get that. For the moment power rankings were invented, however long ago it was, 10, 15 years ago, I think I figured it out. These are the best teams right now, week 3. Not what we're saying in February. But people don't seem to get that. Correct. On the flip side, who do you think is the 32nd ranked team at yahoo.com in the National Football League?
That's easy. It's the Carolina Panthers.
Yes. Yeah. Which, by the way, I was listening to Pro Football Talk this morning, and Mike Florio. This is why I've gravitated to Mike Florio. And you all see him on Sunday Night Football or whatever they call it, Football Night in America on NBC. He's no Rudy Poo. But he was just like, he goes, I feel sorry for fan bases that are saddled with bad owners. I can't remember the owner of the Panthers' name. If you told me it would, it would ring a bell. But he just said, you got a bad owner there in Carolina. So he goes, until the fans boycott, and even then, the guy's probably got more money than God. It's like Daniel Snyder got $5 billion just to go away. They're not going to do that to this guy in Carolina. He's like this is where Florio lost me this morning. He goes, the Panthers are so bad that the top 5 quarterbacks ranked for this season's upcoming, like next spring's draft, should get together and say, we won't come to Carolina, don't draft us. I'm like, okay, now you're just getting silly talk. Now you're just getting silly. What do you think of that comment by Florio and just where the Panthers are at?
I know it's such a tough spot, and more of the stuff that I'm reading and watching and hearing from pundits in the National Football League is the consensus, I think, and what I've kind of pulled out of it is you got to move on from Bryce Young. And doesn't that sound crazy? Just a year and a couple of weeks into his NFL career, number 1 overall pick, and you gave up so much to the Chicago Bears. But sometimes you got to cut your losses. And when you pull him in week 2 to go to Andy Dalton, unless he's really secure and you know exactly what you have, you almost need to move on. And who would be out there willing to take a flyer? The LA Rams were a name that popped up. You're not going to get all those pieces back. You're not going to get a first-round pick back for him. You might get a second, a third, or a fourth, or something like that. But you might need to move on from Bryce Young already. And, wouldn't that be a tough pill to swallow?
Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg writes in, he says, Yahoo sounds like the Sports Illustrated magazine I grew up with. When I was a kid, I never understood why they never wrote about the leagues I cared about most, the NHL and CFL. It's because you live in Winnipeg. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in, he says, the fact the Panthers are talking to Cam Newton again tells you their stance. Oh, they are screwed 6 ways from Sunday, the Carolina Panthers. And again, it's until they get rid of the owner. We quite often say it begins at the top. Now, I will say this. The cutoff line for playoff teams is 16. 16 teams will make the playoffs in the National Football League. These are from 17 to 32. Here's the teams they have right now projected out of playoff or you know what I'm saying. 17's the Atlanta Falcons. 18, the Bengals. 19's the Packers. 20's the Vegas Raiders. 21's the Chicago Bears. And to go on from there, Cardinals, Dolphins, Jags, Rams, Colts, Commanders. And now we're getting into the slop. Patriots, Titans, sorry, Darren, Broncos, Giants, and Panthers. So I've spent enough time on this. I do want to move on. It's fun, and it's from Yahoo. I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep reading them. I just signed up for their newsletter. It came into my inbox. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. But why a lot of people came here today, as they always do, is point 2. Week 16 in the Canadian Football League. 4 games. There were only 3 last week, but there's a doubleheader Friday night. Hamilton Tiger Cats at the Toronto Argonauts, followed by the Saskatchewan Roughriders at the Calgary Stampeders. Saturday, Montreal Alouettes at Ottawa and Winnipeg at Edmonton. And our poll that we do every Wednesday is what's Canada's game of the week in the CFL? And not running away with it, but I will say leading is the Rough Riders at the Stampeders Friday night. Darren wrote about it in his column that's up at rodpeterson.com right now. You said 9:30 kickoff Eastern Friday night, how you can't wait. I'm like, I might actually stay up for that one. I'm usually packing it in around that time, but that's how big of a game I think Stamps Riders are at McMahon Friday night. Second place, interestingly enough, is Winnipeg at Edmonton. Shouldn't really surprise you. Two big regions for viewership of ours are Winnipeg and Edmonton, but they're in second place. But you also talked about the news in your column that Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace stopped practice twice on Tuesday, actually hauled his charges into the locker room after one of those stops to say, what the hell are you guys doing? They're winless in 7. If they lose Friday night, their playoff hopes are probably done. And you got to stop practice coming off a bye week because the work after the level of play isn't there? What's going on, Darren? What's your read on that?
Well, it's not good. My read first is that Corey Mace is not taking this lightly coming out of the bye week and wants to make sure that his team knows just how important this game is. You know, when you are a coach or a GM or you're in the front office or you're in the organization, you're looking at the calendar and you kind of know and you circle, and we've seen this in hockey. These are the games that we need to circle. We have to win these games. These are the teams below us. These are the teams we know we're better than. We must win these games. We hope we win a few of these games, and then we're going to be in great shape, and we'll see how competitive we are. This is a game against the Calgary team that's outside of the playoffs looking in. It's a game you must win. If you want to make the playoffs, I mean, mathematically, I don't think they're eliminated with a loss, but it's a game you need to beat the teams that you're fighting with for the playoffs in order to get in. And you need to address that. And the fact that you're coming out of the bye week and guys aren't dialed in ahead of the biggest game of the season is probably cause for concern.
I would say 902-518-3033 is the number to text us here in the studio. The quarterback, Trevor Harris, who everybody knows across the country, he's an Ohio product. That's where he was born and raised. He played at Edinburgh. Said, to clean up the language, he says, this ticks him off that they had to stop practice twice. The frustration in Trevor, I feel, is just sad. And you talk about if they lose Friday night at Calgary, how mathematically they're not out. Who's kidding who, Darren? They pretty much got to run the table, do they not, to get in? And they're winless in 7 to begin with. So, I mean, realistically, I guess they don't have to run the table, but it would be nice. It would help their chances. If they lose Friday, they're winless in 8. Ain't nobody thinking they're going to make the playoff.
Well, you're right there. Like, I mean, now that you say that, it's like next week, though, when we come out of this week and we'll see what happens, next week we're probably talking about magic numbers, right? Starting next week, it's magic numbers. And what do you need to clinch? And, you know, even in the Hamilton-Toronto game, if Hamilton doesn't win, I think they need to run the table to get into the playoffs if they don't beat Toronto on the weekend. So we are absolutely in that conversation now.
And I will say that for those that voted for Winnipeg and Edmonton at Commonwealth on Saturday night to close out the week as game of the week, where the heck is it? Bomber Boy in Calgary says Winnipeg versus Edmonton is the best defense versus the best offense. Hey, look, it depends on your perspective of what is the game of the week mean. Is it what could be the best game? Yeah, Winnipeg, Edmonton, probably two of the hottest teams right now. That should be good. But in terms of the gravity of the situation, it's like a must-win for Saskatchewan. I'm sorry, you can't move me off that. We got a lot to get to. We'll be right back. We're only 2 points into the warm-up here. Rich Sutter and Andrew Gottselig are on the way. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network. WQEE Radio, of course, streaming on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, the RP Show warm-up's brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift's, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use the promo code RP Show for 15% off at checkout. Join us at SeatGiant.ca. I'm in South Florida. Moose is in Toronto. And here's a baseball note for both markets. The Blue Jays will aim to even their series with the host Texas Rangers tonight when they send righty Bowden Francis to the mound. The Jays opened the three-game set in Arlington last night with a 13-8 loss. Meanwhile, here, Jesus Sanchez doubled twice and drove in 3 runs, and the Miami Marlins beat the LA Dodgers 11-9 at home. What the hell is it? Lone Depot Park. They beat him 11-9. Ohtani struck out 3 times, but hit his 48th home run, Moose, as he tries to become the first MLB player in history to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases. He didn't steal a base last night for a 5th straight game and remains at 48. I'm watching the highlights on the local supper or the late night news here, and it was all Dodgers fans at the game at Marlins Park here last night. And trust me, I get it. Friends going that, hey, I didn't know we're Dodgers fans. They're all wearing Dodgers gear. If nothing, this is bigger to me than the races at the top of the division. Like in my mind, this is bigger. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, it is. But I think I don't want to speak for you, but for me, when you're not as dialed into the baseball season because your team is out, and I'm talking about the Jays, you're less worried about what's going on with the rest of the league. If it's hockey and your team is out, we're still dialed into the league. If it's the NFL, the CFL, we're dialed in no matter what happens with our teams, right? Because those are our leagues. Same thing, college football. So it's a little different when we're more. I think with baseball, I think for me it's more, Jays or bust. Whereas the rest of these other leagues that I'm more passionate about, I'm in the league no matter what the teams are doing.
That is the definition of casual baseball fans, MLB fans, which is what we are. Now, I'm going to get to NHL training camps in a second. If there's breaking news today, and I'm almost want to barf in my mouth that it's breaking news, but I know that it is, Mitch Marner shut down reporters today and said he will not talk about his contract situation. He's going into the last year of this big money deal, and he wouldn't talk about it on the very first day of training camp. So that is the breaking news. I will say this, TSN needs to cool it with its notifications. Like, listen, I don't know about you, but every time my phone goes off and I have notifications set from USA Today, TSN, and there's one other, I can't remember. But when you have a notification from TSN, I'm like, oh, what could this be? Oh, there's women's rugby tonight at 9 Eastern featuring Canada versus New Zealand. I'm like, stop it.
I would want to say TSN's not the only one. I opened my phone, I got like 40 notifications, and I'm like, come on. And here's the problem for me. I get email notifications, right? And I look at them and I'm like, oh, that's junk mail. I didn't subscribe to this. Swipe, like delete. This is important. Click it, reply, right? Problem is when you swipe those notifications away, they don't actually delete anything. And it's just annoying to have so many notifications to overwhelm your brain. I think everybody's got to cool it on the notifications.
Well, TSN's the one to me. USA Today stuff is usually worthwhile. They're not promoting something, which is what TSN's doing. Dabbling back in here. Beep, 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 beep. Nelson says the Riders talking about that CFL stuff because we always follow what's going on there. I can't envision me not following what's going on in the Canadian Football League. I only worked in it full time for 20 years. The Rough Riders have a favorable schedule, Calgary twice, and BC, who are in a bit of dismay of their own. Edmonton is up and down, and Ottawa is an up and down team. They should go 3-2 in this stretch. Meanwhile, Randy in Winnipeg says the Riders haven't won a post-Labor Day game since 2021. They're 0-15. And Patrolman Pete chimes in and says, that's nuts, Randy. Wow. And it's like, I'm moving more and more away from working for the team because I'll be honest, you look at things differently when you're with the team. I don't care whether you're the broadcaster, the team doctor, or the ball boy. You're all part of it, and you look at it really one way. Whereas the fans, you guys got to bring up that Labor Day stat, which is true. My point, Darren, is the Riders aren't thinking about. They're not thinking about that at all. I sure the hell wasn't, because I'm still kind of in that thinking. That's a thing where it's at the end of the year, you sort everything out. If you're the Rough Riders, because it's going. It's a train. You don't have time to stop and examine things. Maybe you pay somebody to do that. But the coaches aren't doing that, looking at those numbers. You know what I mean? Am I making any sense at all?
Yeah. They're not. They just need to win the game. They're not worried about what happened last year, the year before. Coaches aren't worried about a 15-game losing streak post-Labor Day, all the rest. But those trends aren't just, fluff and pixie dust. They're real. It tells you where this kind of organization, unfortunately, is. And you start to look at, well, Corey Mace wasn't part of this the last couple of seasons.
Exactly.
You switch out the coach, you switch out some of the players. This still is a bit of an issue, and it needs to be addressed. And hopefully, for the fans in Saskatchewan, better times are ahead. Because I don't know that they can get much worse than they have been the last couple of seasons.
You don't know that better times are ahead, though. That's the thing. I go back to what Mike Florio said this morning about the Carolina Panthers. 32nd ranked team in the NFL, just benched their number 1 overall quarterback. And he goes, fans of a team with a bad owner, and let's just say bad leadership, if you want to loop in community-owned teams, you're trapped. To use Florio's term, you're trapped because there ain't no getting out of it. Jeff in the Zone writes in. He says, I hope the Riders can beat Calgary twice. Of course you do. You're a Rider fan. Rob in Vancouver says, let me guess. After yesterday's show, the BC Lions communications folks dropped you another complaint notification? No, I don't even know if they were watching. The point is, we had Emery Hunt come on here from Football Game Plan and say the Lions have screwed up their quarterback room, and they took umbrage with it. But no, I didn't get any notifications with them. Whatever. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events. I'm a little low energy day today. I don't know if you've noticed or not. Darren knows why. It's just I'm peopled out, and it's only Wednesday. Nelson says when you drive a car, you look out the windshield, not the rearview mirror when you're going forward. The better way I've heard that phrased is, that's why the windshield is this big and the rearview mirror is this big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's our football. That's our football thoughts. I'll go, again, this is from the Wire story. NHL teams are opening training camps today, including all 7 of Canada's teams. The Leaf, Oilers, Jets, and Canucks begin preparations to improve on their playoff fates from last season. Meanwhile, the Canadiens, Flames, and Senators aim to end their playoff drought. I actually saw this meme the other day on social media and I think it was from the NHL Network, that said at least 5 Canadian teams are making the playoffs in 2025. And the first thing I thought was, not a chance. We just mentioned the 4 that did last year: Leafs, Oilers, Jets, and Canucks. I think we think those 4 will all be in. I do. I've done my predictions already. Do you?
I do. The one team I think that has a shot is Ottawa. I think they're the team poised to take a step forward. Montreal is still in a position of, what's their identity going to be like? What is their identity going to be? Are they going to show signs that they're on the right path? They're a couple of years away, and we don't really know what to expect out of Calgary at all. But the reason why it's going to be tough to add another team without dropping somebody from the playoffs is that we went through those predictions, Rod, and it's like, man, in these divisions, I don't see the top 4 teams really changing, like falling backwards. The teams at the top are continuing to play well and adding pieces and continuing to look really good on paper. I don't see anybody falling off. So something unexpected is going to have to happen, and it usually does. So maybe there's a chance.
If Rich Sutter is watching in Lethbridge on Game Plus TV, which he does regularly, because he's coming on next, that's where I will lead off with you. Do you see one of the Senators, Habs, or Flames making the playoffs this year to make it 5? Because I don't. And I want to address this because I wondered if anybody would ask. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in and says, do you guys have any thoughts on Rogers buying out Bell with Major League Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment? What does this mean for the average Joe like me, if anything? So what he's referring to, and this was getting top billing in the sports breaks that we get on the Canadian Sports Wire, Rogers Communications is buying Bell's 37.5% stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment for $4.7 billion, securing 75% ownership. Rogers and Bell had held equal shares of MLSE, which owns the Maple Leafs, Raptors, Argonauts, Toronto FC, and Marlies. The deal, pending approvals, will let Bell retain broadcast rights for Leafs and Raptors games. So Brian asked, I saw the news, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. That didn't affect my life at all. But for the average Canadian, does it? What do you think?
Yeah, so those rights, I was reading about it this morning. It's still 20 years of regional games on TSN and TSN Radio. So it's good for the radio folks, maybe a lifeline there for TSN Radio and Raptors games on TSN. I think it's 20 years as well. So that's not a concern. You don't have to worry about them leaving TSN. It means a couple of things. Bell needed money. From my understanding and what I've read, share price, stock price, all that stuff. My first thought was, what does this do to the NHL rights, TV rights, which are going to come open in another year? Does it mean that Bell is going to have now dollars to try and acquire those national rights from Rogers? And you'll see national games on TSN. But the more I read, the more it sounds like it's going to go back to Rogers, and there's probably not going to be much changes, except that they control now these teams. And what we've seen with the Blue Jays in the last number of years, they're willing to spend money on rosters and on players and on, management. But with the Jays, we haven't seen the accountability side in terms of winning. So largely, I don't think anything's going to change.
Well, it's funny your mind went there, which is cool. You're talking about how it affects the teams and the broadcast deals. My mind went to, how does it affect my cell phone bill and my cable bill? Which, by the way, I have a Rogers cell phone. It hasn't gone up $24.21 every month since I got it. And I've had it almost 10 years. I got to be honest, I have zero issues with Rogers at all. And none with Bell, because I don't do anything with them. I think your cell phone's through them. So when he said, what does it mean to the average Joe Blow? I looked at your bill, right? And all I know is they keep closing all these radio and television stations across the country, but that don't affect me either. Not owned by those companies. So that's why, life goes on with that news today. Moose, I'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
Rich Sutter's in next. We're live on Canadian television. That's Game Plus TV, also airing in 31 U.S. states. On the radio, WQEE in Atlanta, streaming on YouTube as always, and of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. more speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hockey players, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Well, Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary has you covered. Whether you're preparing for the big game or just want to have some fun, check them out. Overtime Hockey Lanes has something for everybody. 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. We got a lot of things to get to. And I encourage you, Rich Sutter, next time you're in Cowtown to check out Overtime Hockey Lanes. It's your kind of... Actually, you know what? I saw a video of you doing it this summer at some fair. I saw you shooting out targets at that thing now that I think about it.
I was knocking them out bullseye, baby.
You haven't lost it. You haven't lost it, buddy.
The Gordie Howe Alzheimer's tournament at Hamptons.
I love it. I love it. Rich, I don't know if you saw before the break, I said I got a question for you. We all think the Leafs, Oilers, Canucks, and Jets will make the playoffs. I'm sure you agree with that. Do we think one of the Flames, Sens, or Canadians will to make it 5?
Well, I hope so. I think we probably would look leaning more definitely towards one of the two teams out east. I think Ottawa's might be more fit to take that step forward. I just think the world of the coach there. So I think that, I hope that both of them are definitely in the running for sure with the Habs and the Sens. And at the end of the day, I just think the Sens are probably a little bit further ahead of them in that stage, and I hope that'll prove out.
Interesting you say that because they're the only of the three with a new coach. How long do you think it'll take for the Travis Green stamp to be on the Senators? Should we look at a date for that happening?
Well, I think the Travis communicates well, and he can be a bit of a hard ass, and I like some of that old school in him, but Travis is also very wise to the fact that you got to communicate with these guys. I know he spent the summer getting to know these guys individually and collectively, and kind of what starts to make them tick. He'll find out a lot more when he's actually on the ice with them during training camp and early practices. But I think they're going to be just fine. Biggest thing is he's going to stress how to play defense as well and how to be responsible. And if he can get guys to buy in, there's a wealth of talent and ability in size in that hockey club that can do some really good things.
The news of the day is Mitch Marner shutting down questions on the very first day of training camp. I will not address my contract going into the final year of his big deal. How do you feel about that, him doing that today, and where they go from here?
I agree with him. Look, there's been enough changes around that organization again this summer. They don't need any more distractions. I'm a huge Craig Berube fan as well, and he's not going to listen to that nonsense. And I'm glad that Mitch has tried to shut it down right off on the morning of day one. And we all know what the media is like in Toronto. Will they let that be? I find that hard. That they will. At some point, it'll always pop up. But look, I'm glad he brought it out himself and said, look, I'm here to play, here to focus individually and collectively as a group and get this thing off on the right foot. And I think he's done the right thing by doing what he said. I heard that earlier this morning as well. So good on Mitch.
Well, yes. But at the sake
You
of
don't
sounding
agree with
like a no, I do. But at the sake of sounding like a Toronto media person, what does this mean? Because Stamkos last year at this time, with a year left, but just, hey, Stamkos said, I want to talk about it. The team does it. And look where it ended. That hung over them all year. How is this different?
Well, I think as athletes and people that are running organizations, they're going to tell you just enough to make you think a little bit and leave it kind of in your crawl in terms that bothers you. You didn't get the answer you wanted. Now, where do I go from here? Do I press the envelope a little further on this individual? Don't need to think that there's conversation going on behind closed doors, because there always is, you guys. Whether it's in the hallway and Brad catches Mitch at the right time, or wherever he catches Tree at the right time, and the conversation just might pop up. But look, they're human beings. The hardest thing is to hold things in, especially to the media. As a person around a hockey club or a player is difficult to do. It's not always so difficult to do it when you're one-on-one with that individual. So rest assured, there has been conversation, and you know what? Good on them. Their goals, they want to. They're tired of listening to nothing's been done since 1967, and they just want to get off on the right foot and give themselves an opportunity. They want to be known as a regular season hockey club. Craig Berube has got the ingredients and the knowledge and the know-how and the experience. And I feel this team is also in the right spot in terms of who they have there now, that this is a team that is going to prepare to play for the playoffs. And they're not going to be concerned about finishing in the top 2 or 3 in the conference. They're going to be concerned about, come April, they're playing the right kind of hockey that is probably going to be different than they played in the past to some degree. That's going to give them a much better opportunity to play and to win. And when you got the best centerman in the Eastern Conference as your captain now, leading the way, who is a very determined, talented individual, I like their chances.
I got a million questions for you because I haven't talked to you for a while. But before I lob those at you, what's on your mind as camps open today? What are the top topics?
Well, it's been a summer of change. You look around the league with the big contracts with some of these guys that signed, a lot of the player movements, the amount of money that was being spent. Not necessarily a new franchise, but a new city in Salt Lake with the group there that are going to hold no punches in terms of making it successful. I think Utah is on the cusp. They brought in some good veterans to help them through the next couple of years to let these kids continue to grow. There's a lot of good things going on. I have to bring up the Columbus situation. But what's going on there in the last 3 years is very hard to swallow as a guy that worked in the organization and still think very highly of a lot of people there. These are difficult times for that organization, but there's some great individuals in that locker room and some people upstairs as well. So it was Rick Nash and Donnie and the group, and I think that they're going to walk through a lot of tough days together. It's been a heavy heart of mine, to be honest with you on that, and I think that I really hope I want to see that team to really do well, and I think they will find a way. There will be some character building going on in that organization for the next few months, and I'll be very happy for them if they can achieve.
The reason I smiled about that is people, maybe they don't know, to see your old team struggle, that is a different kind of frustration. You were there, you're not anymore, and you don't like to see it, right? And you don't know what to say.
I don't, Rod, but I'll tell you one thing. I care deeply about a lot of people there. I would give anything to go back and work there. Look, I left for the right reasons at the time. And there's, I care, look, I still have relationships with a good handful of these young players, and I still speak to them. I still speak to the people on staff there. And there's a lot of really good people that really want to right this ship, and I think they will get this figured out. I know that there's not many Blue Jacket fans in Western Canada, but I'll guarantee I'm probably one of the top ones, just because of the people, and then the hockey. It's always about people first. We're in a great sport where people care. There are some individuals that kind of try and be one of the bad apples in the barrel all the time. That's a given, but more often than not, you're always going to run across a lot of people. I know for a fact if I was in dire straits, Rod, I could pick up the phone and text a friend in Europe, or he could text me, and he knew, and we both know that we're here. We got you. What do you need? And that's just how we are. And I'm just happy that we're surrounding, or as a large group, that we're in a situation like when Sydney came out the other day and said, look, we need to support the Goodrow families and their young widows, and that, knowing that we'll always be there if anything's needed. And that's really cool, because you don't hear that in many other sports. But for Sydney to come out and say that, that's true. And it sucks. But at the end of the day, you know that those people, those families, and those young, beautiful people are going to be protected, supported, and know that someone will always be there for them.
You know how it is. Be there for your people, and forget about the rest that aren't your people. Rich, thanks. I could go on, but we're out of time. Hey, keep in touch. Let's get a phone call in.
Yeah, talk soon. Thanks.
13-year NHL veteran, member of hockey's first family, Rich Sutter. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover after this. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, I'm glad this is just a short one. I'm having a day. New studio here, new office for the RP show in South Florida. I just hit one button, beep, and all of a sudden my computer just done. Oh, it looks like it showed up just in time. But as for this sports update, but it's a brief one. Let's go off the top of my head. Here are the notes. Mitch Marner shut down any questions about his contract situation on day one of training camp as he met with reporters today. Wouldn't take any questions about it. I see Matthew Tkachuk has opened up about the death of his good friend Johnny Gaudreau a few weeks ago. And, of course, Johnny's brother Matthew. Panthers having their media day and opening day of training camp right now as we speak in Fort Lauderdale. The Tampa Bay Lightning have named Victor Hedman their 11th captain in franchise history as they say goodbye to Steven Stamkos. Those are a couple of things off the top of my head. 902-518-3033. We're only down to a minute and a half here. The one thing spawned out of all this is this Rogers buying out Bell's stake in MLSE. Like, I don't care, and it doesn't really affect me. I said, how does it affect our cell phone bill and our cable bill? And that spawned a lot of comments from our viewers about the cost of Canadian data. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, listen, I get it. But my cell phone's been cheap from Rogers. It's never gone up, not once in like 10 years. I can't complain. Portland's getting a WNBA expansion team. You know how much? The fee? $125 million. That's what we should all be talking about today. How's the WNBA exponentially worth more than Canadian Football League teams? But they are. Sports updates for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is back. After an unexpected family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her rebellious teenage daughter, Astrid, discovers the mysterious model of the town in the attic, and the portal to the afterlife is accidentally opened. Check your local Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. Moose will rejoin in hour 2. Then he's heading to London to broadcast a hockey game. And a lot of you coming up after this brief pause.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
This former producer of major market television shows writing into us anonymously to say he just found our show on Game Plus Television. Here's some tips. The show has ADD. It's all over the place. Your sound effects are annoying. And your host is arrogant. Right on all counts. But that's what we want. That's what we wanted it to be.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, it's daytime sports television, and I would encourage that guy, if he's watching, don't write in today. No, nor anybody. Don't clap at me today. But I'm having far more fun than I thought I would. Let's please bring in the Moose. More like every day I have fun, but I'm having more fun today than I thought that I would. Yeah, you're back, Moose. Listen, how long before you are in the car and bound for London, Ontario to broadcast a hockey game tonight? Have you got the countdown on?
What time are we out of here? Yeah, the countdown's on. Probably 90 minutes or so. And I was saying, when you talked about writing in, I said, don't write into it. Rod's gonna clap back if you clap at the host today.
Exactly. Yeah, most days I can take it. I'm not in the mood for people's junk today. But having said that, it's a strange day in that I'm enjoying the viewers' comments more than normal, and I'm kind of wondering where Jeff the Stamps fan is. Why on earth do I care about his opinion? We fight every day. And he's not here, and I'm wondering where he is. 902-518-3033 is the number to text us here in the studio. I'm in South Florida. Moose is in Toronto. Our show's anchored out of Game Plus Television Studios in Toronto and on the radio in Atlanta. Just for fun, to see if Jordan is still awake. Director Jordan, can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Jordan? Let's see what's going on. There is breaking news today. Actually, quite a bit coming out of day one of NHL training camp. So, number one, Victor Hedman has been named the 11th captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, for those of us Cats and Bolts fans down here in Florida. Matthew Tkachuk addressing the death of Johnny Gaudreau today here as the Panthers have their media today as we speak. The Leafs, Mitch Marner shutting down any questions about the 1 year remaining on his contract. And actually, I can spend more time on that this hour if you'd like. and I think a lot of our audience would. Blue Jays lost in Texas, but Shohei hit his 48th here last night in Miami for the Dodgers. That, to me, is far more exciting than the Jays. But as Darren said, we're not huge MLB fans. So if the Blue Jays are out of it, we're not paying attention. And not a whole lot NFL-wise. We talked about power rankings last hour, but power rankings are literally like belly buttons. Everybody has one, and they all and most stink. CFL Week 16, winning the way on our vote today, our poll for Canada's Game of the Week. Leading the way is Saskatchewan and Calgary Friday night. As I say, this might be the earliest game, must-win game in Saskatchewan Roughriders history in terms of the calendar year. Week 16, must-win game for the Riders, because it is. That is leading the way for Canada's Game of the Week. But number 2 is Winnipeg at Ottawa. And that's going to be a great game, too. But, Darren, of all things, 2 things have grabbed people's attention. I said just before the end of hour 1, the WNBA is headed back to Portland, with the Oregon City getting an expansion team that will begin play starting in 2026. The team will be owned and operated by Raj Sports, led by Lisa Bethal Marriage and Alex Bethal. They paid $125 million for the expansion franchise. That really resonated with our viewers. The WNBA, dude. And so people are writing, I said, how is this? What? $125 million. Please do not adjust your sets. What's a CFL franchise worth? $5-6 million? To be perfectly honest with you, let's get real about it. Utah Darren writes in and he says 2 words, Caitlin Clark. Or as my friend Chris from the Bronx says, Caitlin Clark. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says Portland WNBA is close to the $170 million U.S. purchase price of the Atlanta Thrashers when True North bought them and moved them to Winnipeg in 2011. Bomber Boy writes in, he says the WNBA is propped up by the NBA. I guess that's enough to price franchises in a tier above the CFL teams. And Bomber Boy goes on to say the WNBA had never made a profit as of June 2024. That's what it is to me. You?
Yeah, and, you know, the comment about not making a profit, I don't know if they're looking to bring the league down or say, look, this league sucks. But that's the past. And where they are now, they're playing in front of full stadiums. They're on prime time and television. They got all the social media numbers. You've got major market television, ESPN, Fox, you name it. They're all talking about the WNBA daily. And the 2 words, Caitlin Clark's probably not wrong. You know, that's what you need because stars drive the leagues. It's the stars that drive the leagues and storylines and all the rest. And when you largely don't have, you know, history with your teams in terms of strong fan bases, success, all the rest, you got to buy into the players. And the league is hot. So the stock price is up and it's expensive. And that's where the money comes from. They're trying to capitalize while it's hot, and they should.
So thank you. And I'll get to what the other thing everybody's gravitating towards, the other topic today that I just wouldn't have expected they would, although I shouldn't be surprised. But when I said, where's Jeff the Stamps fan? Kim writes in from Calgary and says, how about me? I'm a Stamps fan. Yeah, but I don't argue with you, Kim. Oh, we could if you want. But Jeff the Stamps fan writes in and says, I'm here, Rod. Okay, good. Yeah, I feel better now. Jeff the Stamps fan's here. And the other one is, I mean, I couldn't be less interested. I'm just not a Toronto guy. If I was, I'd be living there. Darren is far more a Toronto guy than me. He lives there. But the fact that, well, a couple things. Number one, Rogers bought out Bell, their stake, 37.5% in the Leafs. Let's just say the Leafs. And the Raptors as an add-on. So they now control 75% of the team. Who really cares? How does that affect my cable bill and my cell phone bill? That's all that and here, another thing that came out of the Florida Panthers media day is they've signed a new 5-year lease, the Panthers have, with the rink. It's all going everywhere, Darren, that they've signed a new deal. I'm like, hey, I kind of get it, but where else were you going to go? It's the only rink you've had since it was built in 98. You're not going anywhere else. Can we talk about something that actually matters? Why do you think people care so much about this Bell Shaw thing and Rogers, which, by the way, you talked about the WNBA going nuts. The value of the franchises has skyrocketed since phone and TV companies have bought teams. But certainly in Canada, it has. I don't know why the CFL hasn't taken off financially like that. Because Jeff and I have had that argument. He goes, why do you want the CFL to grow? Why can't it just stay the way that it is? That is a mentality. I'm not willing to say that you're wrong, but I'd like to see my friends make a little more money. I'd like to see people not laugh at the CFL's $5.6 million salary cap that hasn't gone up since televisions were black and white. Like, I'd like to see the league grow, but hey, that's just me. Look what the WNBA is doing, man. That's what I'd like to see for the CFL.
Yeah, it's all business. And for the, telecoms that and cable companies, the Rogers and the Bells that are, making these deals, they're becoming like Rogers with this move is like the most powerful organization in the country in the sports landscape.
That's scary.
They own the most valuable sports properties, which are in Toronto because it's the biggest market and the biggest fan bases. So naturally, it's the most valuable organizations, and they have that ownership. And you just accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. And, we wonder what it's going to do to our teams, to our viewing, because they own the TV properties as well. So there's a lot of that. And for whatever reason, the fans love to talk about it. I mean, it doesn't really change. We have the games available, but they love to speculate as to who's going to broadcast the games and when are they going to be on and these rights deals. And it is what it is. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Rob in Vancouver writes in and he says, the problem here is the comms cartel that we're saddled with. This is what y'all don't see. When there's one big company running all the sports teams and all the broadcast networks and all the cell phone dealers, you pay whatever the hell they want you to pay. That's the problem. But that's Canada. In America, it don't work that way. It's based on competition to get your business, and they work for it. That's just me. It's two different ways of looking at things. By the way, I want to go back to what is the biggest news, by the way. The stuff that actually matters. Not who owns the damn team and what cell phone company. Come on, really? 902-518-3033 to write us here. Can we talk about what actually matters? And we'll get into these CFL games of the week. If you just turned us on in hour 2, we talked about it last hour. The Rough Riders having to stop their practice twice yesterday because the head coach, Corey Mace, wasn't happy with their work ethic or level of play in a must-win game coming back after a bye. I just don't get it. And if I don't get it, what the hell do you think he's thinking? Did you say it last hour, Darren? Because you said it in our morning meeting that you were going to bring this up. What Corey Mace was probably thinking when he addressed what he probably said to the team in the locker room when he had to stop practice and go, really, guys? Do you want to relay that? I can't remember if you said it last hour or not. I know you said it on our call.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit in our one, but it's worth repeating, and that's kind of what I feel like. You look at this team and the slide that they're on. This is a game you circle the games against Calgary as games that, okay, we need to win these. And hopefully, boom, 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 down the stretch. But we need to win these games. We can't lose Calgary. So you're coming out of the bye, and if guys are a little lackadaisical, not dialed in, it's like, come on. Biggest game of the season. We need to be focused to win now. If you can't get up for this coming out of a bye week, I know you were just on vacation. But come on, this is a different situation. We're not 6-2. We're not 10-1. We're not, comfortably in a playoff spot. It needs to be a different mentality, and I didn't think he probably didn't see it, so he needed to address it. And I mean, good for him for doing it.
So, Coach Dubuck is watching, Matthew Dubuck of the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs. We have a little fun back and forth when it comes to our CFL. Dubuck writes in and he says, Sask will win. They've been in almost every game. Harris is an all-star. They have a great coach and GM. Wish Rod was back calling those games. They need you, RP. Thanks, coach. But no. I'll be at your game on Friday night. And you know what I think we should do, coach? We should get wings and things in Fort Lauderdale to hot wire their TVs so that we can watch the game and have wings and fries and reflect on your game and watch the CFL game on Friday night. That's what I think we should do. But I will say this. Last hour, Rich Sutter joined us from Hockey's First Family. We talked about the Columbus Blue Jackets and the struggles that they're in. The biggest one is Johnny Gaudreau. Their heart ripped out, player killed. At some point, you need to think about playing. I'm sorry, man. People, it's not heartless. You have to think about that stuff. It reminds me, all the world, of the Humboldt Broncos tragedy in 2018 because I was the guy front and center at that time saying this league needs to get back and finish the playoff. If everybody there in Saskatchewan didn't know that I was the Saskatchewan guy, I was pretty confident in saying that. Nobody's got a bigger heart than me, but we need to finish the playoff. Ooh. Did I get nailed to the wall? But guess what? They got back and finished the playoff. So anyways, beyond all that, Rich just said, Sutter, now he was with the Blue Jackets. That was the last team he was with. To see your old team struggle is a very special kind of strange. And that's where I'm at with the Rough Riders. That's where I'm at with the Regina Pats. That's where I'm at with the radio station I worked at. All three of them are on fire. Flaming dumpster fires, all of them. Doesn't feel good. And as far as the Rough Riders, it doesn't matter who's calling the games for the football team. I appreciate what you're saying, Coach, but it's not that. But we haven't done our picks yet. Darren, when we're going to do them Friday? I guess we'll have to do them Friday. I'll tell you right now, I don't have the Riders to win. Matt, you pick the Riders to win every week. We're not going to get into why. I've picked them not to win for the last 7 weeks and have been right. Let's just be honest. Friday night, McMahon Stadium. What happens, Darren, in your mind?
Well, it's a big game. It's a big, big game. I'm going to save exactly my pick for Friday. But, you know, it's going to be a case of there's a lot of storylines. Who wants it? Dave Dickinson is under a ton of pressure in Calgary. So is Jake Mayer. Like, they're not only just playing to get into the playoffs. I think they're playing for jobs next year. If Jake Mayer kind of fizzles down the stretch and they just go out quietly in the night, into the night, I think that Calgary might be looking for a new quarterback next year and maybe are in the Vernon Adams sweepstakes. And maybe they should be. And Dave Dickinson may be looking over his shoulder. I love Dave. And he's been really good to our program. And he's been a great coach and player in the CFL, but you got to win too. And this is really tough. And then obviously we know what's there for Saskatchewan.
Coach says, Dubuck says he picks them every week because they're good and have had a lot of bad luck. That bad luck is called culture. We've discussed that, Matt. But what's interesting is Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and he says, with the Riders' record at McMahon Stadium, I wouldn't bet on a win if I was a Rider fan. And you understand nobody's quite got this all figured out right. Darren's far more into the betting world than me, but what's a good percentage for these betting experts? Would you say it's like 60%, right? Is a good record if you're a betting prognosticator? Is that right?
51% is good if you're a betting prognosticator.
Well, I could do that. I could be wrong 49. I could be wrong 49% of the time.
Right, but I'm serious. Like, and like, if you're sitting there at like, okay, 51, I'm being a little exaggerating here, and trying to be funny, but 55 to 57, 58, 60%. If you're over 60%, you're doing really well, and you're rolling in money because that's sports. That's how unpredictable it is. It's really difficult. There's nobody that over their life, if they're betting with any kind of dollars and any kind of consistency and volume, are hitting 70, 80, 90%. It's just not happening. They'd be on your TV every day telling everybody who to pick, and the leagues would be, sports books would be bankrupt. 55%.
They'd put a bullet in them. They'd put a bullet in them.
Exactly.
What I do know, I was talking to Serena about this the other day. I feel like Joe Madden's picks are far more accurate than Taylor Mathes's. And that's just 2 of a million sports betting people that are out there right now. But my point is this. If you were to do a handbook on predicting sport, in life, they say the best predictor of the future is the past. But I'm not sure that translates to sports. The Saskatchewan's woeful record at McMahon, or as the guy wrote in here earlier, said the Riders are 0-15 post-Labor Day, haven't won a game after Labor Day since 2021. And that's bad luck, Matt. That's bad luck. What I'm saying, all these numbers, what goes into making your picks? I feel like it's all these things, plus a little bit of just je ne sais quoi. You would get that, Matt. We need to take a break. We'll be right back. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio down there in Atlanta, streaming on YouTube as always, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
We're coming at you live on Game Plus TV, everybody, and WQEE Radio. And by the way, join veteran NHL coach Lauren Mulliken, Rough Riders great Bob Poley, Paralympic hurler Gil Dash and me at the first ever Wolseley Celebrity Sports Dinner on Saturday, October 19th. A night of stories, laughs, and a great dinner benefiting the Wolseley Sportsplex. For tickets, email wolseley.arenaboard@gmail.com. Please bring the Moose back in if you don't mind. He is now about an hour away from hitting the highway for London, Ontario for his first gig broadcasting junior hockey tonight in Ontario. Interesting. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he's watching on Game Plus TV, and he says, it's Wednesday and all is quiet on the Eastern Front. Can you confirm, Darren, is it quiet in Eastern Canada? Not much to report?
Well, I don't know. We talked about that big $4.5 billion franchise sale of 37.5% of MLSE, of the Leafs, the Raptors, the Argos, all of that. That's a big deal. We talked WNBA, the Leafs press conference. So there is lots going on. But you know what? Mostly, I guess mostly quiet. Sure.
I might add, it was an hour ago that Kirk texted that in because he has texted in since. Breaking news. Where's my breaking news bell? Oreo Cookie named the new sponsor for the Leafs, and their logo will be on their helmets this season. Hope they don't crumble come playoff time. Is that yours, Kirk? You stole that, didn't you? By the way, Darren, you wouldn't believe this, although you probably would. Last year, I was doing one of these sports dinners with Ryan Getzlaff and Chris Getzlaff and Pence. And what happens at these sports dinners is the big money people pay to have you come sit at their table. And there was a big dairy company, Crosby's, who paid to have me come sit at their table. And they talked about that milk crest patch on the Leafs jersey, milk, and how there was a fight across the country. Half the dairy farmers wanted it on the Leafs jersey. Half the dairy farmers didn't want it on the Leafs. I'm like, everybody's fighting, right? So somehow along the way, they've got Oreo to agree to put a sticker on the Leafs helmet, as if they needed to advertise. I want one of those things every day. Jim,
well, it was a cool advertisement. And now they got milk on the jerseys and cookies up on the helmet. It's kind of a good fit, right? Perfect. Milk and cookies together. Yeah.
Again, those two things are never very far from my heart anyways. To me, they don't need to advertise. But way to go, Leafs. That's a reason to cheer for them. Milk and cookies on their jerseys and helmets. Jim in Belgoni writes in. He says, good day, RP Nation. Rod, the mini fridge is a great addition to the set. It reminds me of Mr. Dressup's tickle trunk. Let's see what's in it today. Good times, good memories. Take care, my friend. This is from my beautiful partner, Serena. This was a housewarming gift. I guess you can't. Do you want to go to the full screen for a second, guys, if you don't mind? This is here you go. This is the set. This is the tickle trunk. This is a working fridge. And what I have in here is a stack of Diet Coke. Yeah, a bunch. I've yet to crack one. But anyways, it's a working fridge. Thank you. We can go back to Moose. I do remember when I went to New York for my intervention training, I was with 20 other people in recovery, and I went to open the fridge, and in the lunch break, I opened it, and every rack was full of Diet Coke. I was like, my people. Let's see what we got out here. Oh, Jen from the Four Seasons writes in. Thank you, Jen, for injecting some sanity here. She says, everyone crapped the bed in week 2 of the NFL. Crazy week, I tells ya. That's Jen from the Four Seasons. Well, depends how you look at it. 7 underdogs won, including the Falcons on Monday Night Football. And, dude, I don't know. If you jumped in late to this show, you missed a lot, like every day. You should be here at 10 a.m. Mountain, noon Eastern. But I went through the power rankings from this brand new newsletter I signed up for from yahoo.com. Frank Schwab, by the way. I think he kind of looks like he could be the son of Stump the Schwab. And he's got his power rankings out here. And Darren, 7 underdogs winning, including the Packers. Like Malik Willis led them to an upset victory over Anthony Richardson and the Colts. I think what I'm going to do after today's Cats and Bolts taping is shut off my phone, and Serena and I are just going to watch TV all night because I'm tired of people's opinion, which is very ironic because I give mine for a living. But these NFL, like, it's just people are going they're overreacting way too much with the NFL 2 weeks in, is my point.
Oh,
deal or no deal?
Big time. And if I could suggest, Bad Monkey Vince Vaughn, if you haven't started it on Apple, I think you two will
What's
love
that
it.
on?
But it's on Apple Plus.
What's it on?
On Apple.
Okay.
Apple. Yeah. So get it. Check it out. It's worth it. New episodes every Wednesday. You got to wait. It's awesome. NFL Power Rankings. Yeah. You talked about it last year, what it means. Who's the best today? And somebody would say, well, New Orleans, how are they not number one? Look at the offense. Well, it's about who would be favored too. Would you really have New Orleans favored to beat Kansas City in a game if they played today? No, you wouldn't. Kansas City would be favored in that game. So would Buffalo, so would Houston. So, these teams, so would San Francisco, and on and on and on. So just because a team's 0-2 doesn't mean they necessarily need to be at the bottom of the power rankings. But it's a struggle in Cincinnati, for sure. That's definitely an area for concern. And there's a lot of different areas for concern in the National Football League, but way too early to be panicking about power rankings.
Bengals, who you mentioned, are 18th in the power rankings. And I guess I didn't say it properly in hour one, but I have the chance to say it here in hour two. It depends on your definition of power ranking. Mine is this. If the playoffs started today, these are your favorite. So you can talk about the Saints being 2-0 and setting a record for offensive points, or actually tying a record in 100 years of NFL football, but they're still not beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The top 5 teams in their power rankings are the Chiefs, Bills, Texans, 49ers, Lions. Howie's got the Dallas Cowboys 6th. I don't know. But would you go along with that definition of power rankings? If the playoffs started today, these are your teams. The problem is it's September. We still got October, November, December, January. It's a long way to go. But if the playoffs started today, these are our favorites. Fair? That's not the same as going to Vegas and dropping $20 on a futures bet for who you think will be in the Super Bowl. That's a totally different thing.
Completely different. And right now, Miami is not a team that's a playoff team. That probably not a team you would have favored or picked to win above them. But we don't know what they're going to do between now and the next little while. We're waiting. I don't think they've announced a signing yet. And I was watching, Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli on the Manning cast, and they had Matt Ryan on there. And I thought, could Matt Ryan come back and play for the Miami Dolphins? We talked about Ryan Tannehill. Talking about Tom Brady coming out of retirement. There's some options for a veteran. What about Joe Flacco coming back after what he did in Cleveland last year? They've got some options. Once they make a move, all of a sudden Miami might look like a completely different team in those power rankings.
I want to say this. We have questions that have come in from the audience too, but it's just an interesting time. You said it yesterday. It was one thing I was talking to Glenn Erickson. That's what it was. Our new columnist at rodpeterson.com. He's writing 10 dub things, 10 WHL things, and people are loving it already. We're having a record day for hits at rodpeterson.com because of his column. Maybe it's because Darren's is up there too. But he just said,
thank you.
There was a time when we had everybody's opinion available, but now we have everybody's opinion in the media plus all the fans. And my point with that is, you just said, have the Dolphins signed anybody yet? I was walking in at Johnny O's on Monday to work out. David was standing there, the manager, and I said that exact same thing. I'm like, have the Dolphins signed a quarterback yet? He's like, no, they're not going to. Tua said over the weekend he's not retiring. They're not going to sign anybody. Yeah, but the Dolphins also said they weren't going to put Tua on injured reserve, and yesterday they did. So the point is, everything changes. Just like, you wonder why there's no newspapers anymore. What happened an hour ago is old news. Anyways, Scott in Toronto says, crack a cold one and have a belching contest with Moose. Oh, yeah, that would offend people with my unprofessional conduct. Dealing with that this week, too. Colin in Ottawa writes in, and he says, what does Dupes think of Will Levis literally giving away the game against my Jets last week?
Will Levis cannot do that. He has to make better decisions. He's trying to be Patrick Mahomes and make something happen while he's diving through the air. Now, that said, I was looking at a number of analysts who were grading him out like they do for Pro Football Focus and other publications. He actually graded out pretty well. He's making the throws. He's showing an ability to have great arm strength and read the field pretty good. And he's just making some bad decisions at bad times and giving away football games. Literally, his interception and a block punt against Chicago flipped that game they should have won. This game, maybe you don't win, but you're putting points on the board and you're trying to drive at the end of the game to maybe win the game instead of tie it. So it's awful, but he's still doing some good things outside of that.
We got some good stuff here. Bill is watching in Toronto, and he says, hey, Hot Rod, the Oreo logo on the Leafs helmet, because every year in the playoffs, the cookie crumbles. LOL. You got something for that, Clark? You got something up your sleeve in the tickle trunk for that, Clark?
There it is.
Well, I love, it used to be when I first got into football, I would have to relate every story to hockey. And now here I am doing this, relating every hockey story back to football. My point is, Rich Sutter said last hour on this program that the Leafs are built, they're focused on the playoffs. They don't care about finishing first, second, third in the division. And people won't understand what that means. It reminds me of 2007. Our head coach was Ken Austin. We had a chance. We were 12-5 going into the last game of the year, a meaningless game at Taylor Field. And Ken Austin sat down Kerry Joseph, the eventual league MVP, and also Andy Fantuz and a host of other top guns to rest them for the playoff. And Jim Hobson, our president, who incidentally is in the Hall of Fame, blew a gasket on Ken after the game. Why did you? Because we ended up losing the game. And Ken said, it's more important to get these guys out of the game. It's not important winning a 13th game and setting a record. It's more important to have them healthy, and just trust me. And Jim, to his credit, said, okay, all right, you're the coach. But that's the difference in mindset between two leaders of an organization. We went on to win the Grey Cup, and Kerry went on to win MVP. It didn't matter about the second half of the last game of the year in a meaningless game. But Jim thought that, no, we need to win 13 games and set a team record. It's like, no, we don't. And I'm the coach. And Jim let him do it. That's the difference. Do you see the thing with the Leafs? We don't care about where we finish. We want to win a Stanley Cup. I feel like that is a new revelation in Leafland.
You're going to hire Craig Berube, you're going to have to give him some freedom to do it his way. Otherwise, why do you hire him in the first place?
There you go. How about that? Moose leaving us all hanging with a pearl of wisdom. Drive safe, sir, to London, Ontario, and say hi to all of our viewers out there.
I will. Thank you.
Just to clarify, so Kirk in Toronto can sleep tonight, with regards to him saying all is quiet on the Eastern Front. He's just reporting on the East for us here. Hi, Rod. I came up with that, and all quiet on the Eastern Front was pertaining to the Argos Ticats game. Okay, thank you for clarifying. There's no bulletin board material. There's no huffing and puffing. There's nobody shooting their mouth off in advance in the battle of the 401 on Friday night, Ticats and Argos. Not yet. It's only Wednesday. Okay, we're going to do a little traveling next. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, streaming on YouTube, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902 Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Everybody, we're brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing's Speakers Bureau. Check them out at emjmarketing.com. Peruse their roster. They handle my corporate and public speaking. Stu Grimson's, Jim Barker's. It's quite an impressive list. Check them out. Speaking of impressive, Andrew Gottselig is impressive from HoopLife. He joins us with some very big news today, which we'll get to in a second. He's making the media rounds, but first of all, how you doing, Andrew?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm trying to see if you got one button undone or two buttons undone, because I'm told that you are in a place that's a little warmer than where we're at.
Yes, where basketball is very popular. It's South Florida, and you'll never know. But Andrew, before we get to your big news, for those that don't know, would you please tell people what you and HoopLife are all about?
Absolutely, yeah. So we started HoopLife here in Saskatchewan about 7.5 years ago, and you can see now I'm in the HoopLife gym, and it's been a great experience. I mean, we have camps and sessions and training and everything for kids, of course, and we have a HoopLife mobile app that anyone can use anywhere in the world to train, and so it's been great. We really have embraced the hoop life, and that's got to be the mission. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, man.
Well, basketball, from what I'm told, and we just had the president of Basketball Canada on last week, is the fastest growing sport in Canada right now. So first of all, take a bow, because I know you're a big part of that. You're a big part of that, and you've been on this train for a while, but maybe now would be a good time to divulge your news.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. It's been exciting to be a part of. And I mean, when we started Hoop Life 2017, you could see the momentum. It was the perfect time because in 2018, you had the CBL come and launch in Canada, which has done some amazing things. And then 2019, you have the Raptors winning. And you see even this year, I mean, I know the Olympic team didn't do what the Canadians would have wanted, but the fact that we were in that conversation is pretty cool. So Canadian basketball is on the rise, and I am not a betting man, but I have placed a bet for SGA, Shea Gil-Alexander, to win MVP, who's a Canadian, in the NBA next year. So I'll say all that to say Canadian basketball has never been better. And so we're excited to continue the momentum. So Hoop Life, I'm excited to announce we are launching in Saskatoon. We have started in Regina 7.5 years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. We've grown the sport here. Appreciate it, man. We've grown the sport here. We've got a nice building that we've put together, and so now it's time for the next challenge. And it's time to go after it in Saskatoon and bring those kids exactly what we brought the kids here in Regina.
So expanding 7.5 years in Regina, and I remember when you had a brand new facility there, and now moving up to Saskatoon, expanding there. Where is this facility located in the Bridge City, Andrew?
So we're partnered, our facility partner is Saskatchewan Polytech. And so we will launch without a facility like Regina to start. And so, it'll probably take us a year to two to get that facility announcement, which I'm sure you and I will chat about when that comes, because that'll be pretty cool. But we'll essentially do exactly what we've done here in Regina. We'll start off in partnership at the Saskatchewan Polytech. That's where all the camps, all the sessions, all the training, all the program will be. And then, once we get that rolling, then of course we'll launch a facility and essentially do it just like we did in Regina. And the goal for Hoop Life is to launch multiple facilities across Canada. And then, someday we can do that across the world. So that's really our passion and what we're shooting for.
Congratulations. As you know, you can't do it all at once. So congratulations on Saskatoon. And one of the reasons I love basketball so much, Andrew, is that I never played it. I don't really understand it. I've tried. And the best part is I can go to it and I'm not expected to be an analyst or know anything about it. So I can go and literally just enjoy what's going on the floor. And I go to these CEBL games, and Heat games here too in Miami, but I go to the Rattlers games, and I see you courtside because you're rolling with the big shots, and everybody comes along, and they hug you, and they high-five you. So, I mean, you're all part of that big world. What is this? Because we all talk about the Raptors and what it's meant for Canadian basketball, and it's been immense. It's immeasurable, probably. But what's the CEBL done? You're pretty tight with that crew.
The CBL has, we could talk about the Raptors all day, but when you look at the CBL, and I know you've had Mike on and Leon and all kinds of guys, it's taken Canadian basketball. I want to be careful with my words because it's easy to say, oh, they've taken it to the next level, but they have given kids a chance who play in Saskatchewan or Manitoba or Ontario who are looking at the NBA thinking, okay, there's only 400 players who make the NBA. My chances of that are way less than 1%. However, there's now pro-Canadian teams that are in my backyard. And so the kid who, is top of his class in Saskatchewan, well, he actually has a chance to play pro basketball in Canada in his home backyard. And what that does at the grassroots level is unmeasurable because all kids now actually see that they have an opportunity to play pro basketball. And so I'd argue the CBL has been the greatest grassroots investment that Canada has ever made at the grassroots level to help more kids play basketball. And so I will forever be indebted to them for that simple fact of helping more kids get excited about the game. And so the Rattlers are, of course, that's where their official youth development partner. And so this next season is going to be great. I know Leah's going to, turn that team around, and he's going to do some good things because everything that guy, goes into in sports, they all seem to win. And so we're excited for that, and that will happen. And I want to extend the invite to you as well because we do have courtside seats. And I've told you before, whenever you're in Saskatchewan and you want to go to a game, you just let me know the game and we can go together because I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. where I'm sitting. I just see you down there, and you're having a good time. I don't want to bother you, man. So it's good. I love the league. Great people like yourself. And let me just wind this up by saying, well, we talk in the NFL, NHL, that the players are coming into the league more pro-ready than they ever have. It must be happening in the NBA, too. I just don't follow it as much. And it's because of programs like yours, because you're training them at the younger age, just like the hockey and football players are. You know, we really didn't have that people my age for the most part. So how can kids in Saskatoon and northern Saskatchewan be a part of what you're doing at this new facility, Andrew?
Absolutely. I mean, kids in Regina and Saskatoon, you have an opportunity to train with our HoopLife team. Go to HoopLifeBasketball.com and train week long. If you're not in Regina or Saskatoon, go on the App Store and get the HoopLife app, and that'll be a great tool that you can use to train. It has small videos and descriptions, and so that's really the goal. I mean, in Canada, you know, we are a bit behind from when you think of football and you think of hockey, where they were at 20 years ago, basketball wasn't at. But as you say, basketball is the fastest growing sport in Canada. And so it's time now to pour into the grassroots and get those kids excited. And it'll be cool to see what happens. We got a Canadian MVP coming in the NBA. It's coming this year.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander of Hamilton. I won't rest until there's one from Saskatchewan. It's coming. Andrew, congrats, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Andrew Gottselig from Hoop Life, now Saskatoon and Regina. We'll be right back with Overtime after this here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
It's the South Florida studio, complete with a mini fridge in working order. It's been a fun day. Covered a lot of ground, a lot of breaking news today. It's the first day of NHL training camps, and in Canada, it's in a lot of ways like Christmas. A lot of news coming out from all over the league, which I'm going to get to in a second. Well, certainly from here in Florida. The one thing with the Leafs is two things, actually. Mitch Marner saying that he will not address his contract situation. He's got a year left in his deal. What's he getting, like $11.5 million a year? 10.93, to be exact. He won't talk about it going into the last year. He's pulling a Nathan Rourke. How about that? Not going to stop people from speculating. Not going to stop people from speculating. And what does this mean that they haven't had an extension? Sidney Crosby just signed one. Blah, blah, blah. And then the Leafs are going to have Oreo cookie advertisements on their helmets this season to go along with the milk crests on their jerseys. Laverne in Swift Current says maybe the Leafs will be the Cookie Monsters.
How about that?
A different take than the Leafs will crumble like cookies crumble come playoff time. Maybe they'll be the Cookie Monster. I would suggest if you have not seen the interview with Rich Sutter in hour one, you should go back and watch it. He talked about Marner's statement today and how he supports Marner saying that he doesn't want to talk about it. But more importantly, he actually talked about Johnny Gaudreau and the Columbus Blue Jackets and what that's done to the NHL. So before I get to that, I will just say this. Here's the breaking news out of the NFL. Two-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning, former Defensive Players of the Year Luke Kuechly and Terrell Suggs, and playoff kicking hero Adam Vinatieri are among the first nominees for the 2025 Pro Football Hall of Fame. That was announced today. The Hall announced 167 modern-era candidates for the class today that included 16 players nominated for the first time, including two-time All-Pro guard Marshall Yanda. A screening committee will reduce the list of nominees to 50 players next month. Meanwhile, here in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be exact, the Panthers held their media day, and I'm reading from an Associated Press story here. Matthew Tkachuk estimates that he tells a story about Johnny Gaudreau's exploits to somebody at least once a week, and he's not going to stop either. Tkachuk spoke Wednesday about the death of his longtime friend and former teammate, calling Gaudreau the most offensively talented player I've ever seen. Gaudreau and his brother Matthew were killed on August 29th when police said they were struck by a suspected drunken driver while they were riding bicycles on a rural road in New Jersey. Tkachuk spoke at the Panthers Media Day today, the first formal event of the new NHL season. So of all the things you're going to hear today from across the NHL, that's one of the ones that'll hit you in the feels the most. Matthew Tkachuk speaking about Johnny Gaudreau. And so back to that Rich Sutter interview last hour that I got so much out of. Rich worked for the Columbus Blue Jackets for a time, and he just says for the people of that organization, he just feels terrible about it. And he says the great thing about hockey, he goes, yeah, we have some bad apples, no doubt. That's life. But the beautiful thing is you can pick up the phone if you're struggling and know the person on the other end of the line is going to be there for you when you need it. And that's why we love the sport so much. Good job, Rich. The sports updates on the RP Show brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use the promo code RP Show at checkout for 15% off. Check us out now at seatgiant.ca, and also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Get more of what you love. Free movies and concession items, invitations to exclusive screenings, special events, and more at Landmark Cinemas with their rewards program. There are 3 rewarding programs to choose from. They get you something extra with every movie purchase you make. Check out landmarkcinemas.com to register for free today. And I guess while we're at it, I should tell you that Overtime is brought to you overall by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. It's Disneyland for hockey players. And it's funny, I said to Rich, you got to go check that out. I'm like, wait a minute. I already saw that you did. It was a video somewhere at some fair that Rich was at. And, of course, Randy and Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes was out there participating, getting out into the community. And Rich almost set a record shooting the lights out, literally. It's so much fun. I can't wait to get back into Calgary and Overtime Hockey Lanes. Ryan in upstate New York, Cardinal Ryan, writes in, and he says, the Leafs will either be crisp or be soggy in 2024-25. I'll see myself out.
How about that?
Have a great day, Rod. Have a great day, Rod Squad. Signed, Cardinal Ryan. I like the crumbling thing. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, keep Brad Marchand away from those Oreo logos, knowing his love with licking things. I feel like it's a good thing if we go off the air here. This can only go downhill from here. Colin in Ottawa, don't take this in a turn to negative town. He says, does Seat Giant have whatever washed up band is playing in Moose Jaw? LOL. Rude. I guess you're thinking Clint Black's washed up too. It was so fantastic. One of the greatest concerts I've ever seen was in that very Moose Jaw Event Center. So yeah, why don't you check it out for yourself, Colin, instead of coming in here and spreading that. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Who has more fun than us?